Hey, what's going on, guys? Coming at you with a deck profile slash tournament report on my Monarchs that I took to the Monroeville Regional yesterday. Do be warned that this video may be a little bit longer since I'll be going over my tournament report, just some experiences I had throughout the day. I may go a bit more in depth about my card choices and talk about some things I may change with the build. So maybe a bit of a longer video. So do keep that in mind. But yeah, for today, I went 6-3 out of 9 rounds of Swiss. I ended up placing 52nd out of about 282 players. The top cut was top 32, and my tiebreakers really didn't help me either. So just missed out on that top cut, but overall had a lot of fun. Was pretty happy with how the deck played. And I did a lot better than I expected going in, considering that I didn't have a lot of time to play test with the deck, with how busy I've been lately. Also didn't have a lot of time to really study the deck or study the meta that I was expecting to face going in. So overall, I mean, I'm pretty pleased with how they went. Obviously, I would have liked to have gotten that invite, two of the people in my group from Galaxy Games, Tyler Andrews and Robbie Riley did. Hopefully you'll be seeing some deck profiles from them later. Tyler Andrews placed 10th with Draco Pals, and Robbie Riley placed 13th with Cosmos, both of them going X2. So yeah, as I said, I went X3 after regional. Really interesting is that I actually started out 0-2. What was it? Round 1, I went against Draco Pals. Got blown away in a good 5 to 10 minutes. He went first game 1 and just had a broken setup with the new number 39, rank 8 XYZ that can negate spells. Plus he was able to search Solemn Strike off of Ariadne, so he just had too much for me to get over. And then game 2, I went first and bricked with no Monarchs, and he finished me off pretty quickly there. Round 2, went against Phantom Knights. Had a pretty close 3-game match there with me winning game 1, and then game 2, game 3. He just was able, to out-resource me. He played a better game, and he beat me in time from life points. Just didn't have enough to really catch up there. So, good game, but, just couldn't pull that one out. And then round 3, I was at, I think, table 137 out of 140. So I was literally at, the Scrubs table playing against Lightsworn, and I did win that one. Round 4, played against Yosenju Kaiju, won that one. Round 5 went against Draco Pals, won that pretty handily 2-0. Round 6, you're going to laugh at this, but I beat a pair of sunglasses in round 6. And the reason I say this is because I went over to my table at round 6, which I believe was table 39, and the player didn't show up at all, when the round started. And I had known from somebody I talked to going in that I had to call a judge after 3 minutes to get a game loss from him, and then after 10 minutes of him not showing up, I'd be rewarded the match, and that's basically what happened. And the reason I say I won against a pair of sunglasses is because right where the other person would have been sitting, there was a pair of sunglasses sitting there. So I had a pretty intense game against that sunglasses. I just was barely able to pull out that win. So. But of course, that ended up being one of the things that hurt my tiebreakers was someone dropping like that. Because of course, if you don't show up for your match and you're awarded a match loss, you are also automatically dropped from the tournament as well. Round 7. What was round 7? That was my 5th one in a row after that. I'm trying to think of what it was. Yeah, it was against Cosmo. And interestingly enough, the guy I was playing was actually a rather older guy. I think probably in his early mid-50s, and he actually had an ARG top 8 mat that he said he had won at a previous ARG event. So I mean, he was a pretty good player, pretty good Cosmo player. But I just had the better matchup. He didn't really draw that well, and I was able to pull that one out 2-0. Interestingly enough, he also finished X3 and finished 37th place, so he finished even closer than I did to that top cut. So kind of almost makes me feel bad that I kept him out of getting his invite, but that is what it is. Then round 8, I had a really solid 3-game match against the Mirror. Really awesome player that I ended up playing against. He really had a good grasp on how to play Monarchs. Biggest reason he was able to win, I think 1 or 2 of the games, or I would say at least 1 game, was because he was able to better resource his Prime Monarch than I was. He was just constantly banishing spells and traps to be able to summon it each turn, even if he didn't need it. just to establish Prime on the board, get that monster on board, and possibly establish future plays. Whereas with Prime, I was really only using it when I needed it, which was probably a mistake. And he did take advantage of that in Game 2 and was able to get the win. And in Game 3, interestingly enough, he wished me luck and said, I hope this is a really good game, and I hope that we don't have to deal with bricks. And then instantly we both look at our hands and we're like, shit. Sorry for the cussing there. But yeah, so we both bricked. For 2 turns, we basically were not able to do anything, and then he finally drew that one card that just absolutely opened the floodgates to his plays, and then he was able to win from there. So I told him afterwards that I was not salty about it because he established that he was a better player. I don't really mind losing to someone that I know is better. The only thing for me personally is I'm looking back and I'm like, man, if I had just drawn a decent opening hand, I might have been able to have enough advantage to win that Game 3, which obviously would have put me into a spot to earn my invite. So yeah, lost that round 8, and then round 9 I won against Cosmo 2-0 to end up 6-3. As I said, I placed 52nd, just outside that top 32 cut for my invite. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the deck profile. So starting off, we have for the Squires the 3 Idea, the 2 Eidos, and the 2 Mithra. This was a pretty solid lineup overall. The 2 Mithra was actually pretty good, just being able to special summon it straight from the hand and provide yourself a tribute fodder that isn't susceptible to Valor like Eidos and Idea are, is pretty good. And then, of course, if you have Stormforge set up, you already have a Mega Monarch play as well between Mithra and the token. So the lineup was pretty good. There's only one time where I found myself running out of Eidos, but it didn't really even matter in that game. So I think 2 Eidos was fine. The only thing I could potentially change is maybe cutting Idea down to 2, and that's really just to make space for some better cards in the deck, but we'll see. Then for the Megas, we have the free Aether and the free Erebus, both very good throughout the day. Aether, summoning Kuraz a lot. I actually summoned Aether off of Aether a lot, just to establish that second Aether coming back to my hand to be able to summon on the opponent's turn. I also used it for a couple of OTKs as well. Then with Erebus, I actually had a couple times where I opened Erebus and Mega Phestalos turn 1, and that basically won me the game. Just being able to rip 2 cards out of your opponent's hand and start them out with 4 cards, that should win you the game unless they just draw absolutely broken. Then we have the 2 Kuraz. 2 Kuraz was pretty good. Didn't really draw it that much. Was able to get out of the deck when I needed it to. There was a couple times I straight up summoned it, but I think 2 was good. It's another thing that I could possibly cut to 1 just to make room for Thanes, but it's still a good card, and I'm probably going to keep it at 2. Then for the other Megas, we have the 1 Caius and the 1 Mega Phestalos. Caius, I'll admit, was pretty bad throughout the day. I was really kind of hopeful with this card, but it really only came up once or twice. At best, I may side it for Phantom Knights and Brilliant Abyss, since there actually was a Brilliant Abyss player at top tables that got his invite along with a Phantom Knight player. But yeah, just in general against most of the meta, it just isn't good. So this is definitely coming out. And I probably will replace it with the new Fiendish Monarch that came out. I was talking to one guy that I believe placed in the top 20 at the regional, and he was talking about how great the Fiendish guy was. He said he was the only guy that he saw that was playing it. And basically what it does is when it's tribute summoned, you get to banish a spell from your graveyard to add a spell from your banish zone to your hand. Or no, it's banish a spell from your graveyard to add any spell from your deck to your hand. So that doesn't have to be a Monarch spell. It can be like a Raigeki, a Twin Twister, Foolish Burial, Reasoning, anything. So that card's really, really good. Definitely going to play one of those. Mega Phestalos, I already talked about it. It was good throughout the day. There were times where I wished like this Caius was a second Phestalos just so I'd see it more. But again, I'd probably replace this with a the Fiendish Monarch, and then I don't think I really have room for a second Phestalos as good as it is. Then for the final monster, we had a 2 Valor. Did its job throughout the day against the Mirror, against Draco Pals. Obviously, it had its bad matchup against Cosmo, but it's an easy side out, of course, so I don't really regret playing a 2 Valor. So that's it for monsters, total of 19. Now on the spells. So starting off, we played the 3 Domain. This was something I was thinking about cutting to 2 in the main, just because 2 out of the 3 decks, with top 3 decks being Monarchs and Cosmos, aren't too affected by it. But I also looked at it as an engine card. that I can use to make sure that I get my Mega Monarchs off, and it was good throughout the day. I actually did face a good bit of rogue, as I mentioned before, with Phantom Knights, and Light Sworn, for example, that this actually did good against. So definitely don't regret playing it at free. And I do side one of them out in those matchups like Monarchs and Cosmo that it's kind of dead against. Then we have the free Pantheism, probably second best card in the deck. Free Tenacity, the Search, any of our good cards, the good Monarch spell and traps. Stormport, a lot of people call this the best card in the deck. It is really good. It pretty much wins your Cosmo matchup, which is crazy. It can really help you win the mirror as well. Being able to do this with Aether is really broken as well. Then we have the 2 Return. Return was really good throughout the day, especially the one game I was able to win against Phantom Knights. I actually did Mega Festalos plus Erebus him turn 1, and then with Return I was able to I think get 4 or 5 searches just off of the 1 return because he didn't have a way to actually get off the board. So I just out-advantaged him that game. And I didn't really see multiples, I don't believe. And I mean, when Return was on the board, it did its job. Obviously, it would have been nice to, been able to use this to avoid some solemn strikes, but nevertheless, it is something I could possibly consider bumping up to free just to see it. But again, I'm still thinking about ideas on how to tweak the build for the future. Then for 1-ups, we have the 1 Foolish Burial, the 1 1-for-1, and the 1 Rhoda. Out of these 3, Rhoda would always get side out game 2. I'd always like side out a Rhoda and at least 1 Squire, possibly 2, just to make room for side deck cards. But Rhoda, trying to think if I actually saw Rhoda throughout the day. I don't actually think I did. Thinking about it, but obviously Rhoda's a good card. 1-for-1, came up a few times today. It was good when it was used. Same with Foolish Burial. Just so many cards you can send off of Foolish in so many different situations. So that's it for spells. Total is 17. For the 4 traps, we have the 2 Prime Monarch and the 2 Scolding. I can definitely say that Scolding was good throughout the day. My only thing was that at 2, I didn't see it enough. I would have liked to have seen it in more of my turn 1s. And I actually didn't get the 3rd one until after the event had started. And I wasn't even planning on main 3. I was just planning on siding the 3rd for when I was going first. So that's something I will definitely change with the build, is at least siding the 3rd Scolding. But possibly main it could be an idea. I'm not sure. And then with Prime, I think 2 Prime was good. But I definitely may consider the 3rd one, because the guy that I mentioned before that I faced in round 8 was playing free, and he just used Prime to its absolute best potential. So I learned a lot from him, and I could potentially, if I can find the room, bump it up to 3. But biggest reason for 2 is just because there's so little space in the deck, honestly. So that's it for main deck. Of course, total of 40 cards. No extra deck, of course. For the side, we have the 2 Majesty's Fiends, of course, for Cosmo, for Phantom Knights, for Brilliant Abyss, for Mermails. I think I only summoned it once today, and it was all when I had already won my game 2 against the older Cosmo guy in round 7. The 2 Maxi was pretty good, against Draco Pals, against Phantom Knights, those decks that's actually good against. But it didn't really help me win any of those games, but I still don't really regret signing it because it did its job. Then we have the triple Twin Twister. I definitely think in the early rounds I made some mistakes in not signing this when I should have. You pretty much, I think against most of any matchup, you should side 3 Twin Twisters at least, in anticipation of things like Mask of Restrict, Anti-Spell Fragrance, at least against decks that can actually do that. Even in Monarchs, honestly, you should probably side it because you can just hit really key cards that can really put them in a bad spot. And the guy that I mentioned earlier that I talked to you about, the Fiendish Monarch, he also mentioned siding these along with 2 to 3 MSTs. That is something I could also consider as well, just to make sure that I get over that back row, those floodgates, so on and so forth. But as I said, it's all theory at this point. I'll go over a bunch of different ideas that I have here soon, and then go from there as far as trying to get a better build together. Then we have the 1 March. Didn't really need it in the main. Only sided in against Cosmo, and it never really came up, so could possibly get cut. I'm not sure, especially since I have Scoldings to protect my things. So we'll see about that. The 1 Dark Hole and 1 Raigeki. Biggest thing is if you're going second against Draco Pals, you need to get over their board. These are two ways to do it, to try to do it. And then in the mirror as well, getting over Fog Cane is important. The 2 breakthrough skill. This was good in the Monarch mirror, stopping Aethers, stopping Fog Canes. The one situation I drew this against a Fog Cane, I obviously had wished that it was a Forbidden Chalice instead, but it still did its job. I still think I would keep this as breakthrough. The double negation is really good. Then finally we had the 2 decree. I sided it in a few times, never really came up today, especially since I have Scoldings. I probably could, cut this and replace them with MSTs. Just to make sure that I get rid of those, important floodgates, those important back rows. And then with Decree, of course, you pretty much have to side out Scolding if you side in Decree. So there is that. And then the final side card is 1 Solemn Warning, which would have been Solemn Scolding if I had gotten it in time. Only sided this in a couple times and didn't really see it. So that's it for this deck profile on Monarchs. As I said, went X3 at Monroeville yesterday. Big thank you to the group that I ended up riding with, from Galaxy. Had a lot of fun. All the guys that went to Galaxy in separate cars. It was really good seeing you. Really good to actually be able to go out to one of these things for once with how busy I am. So definitely had a lot of fun with that. As I said, I'm happy with how everything went, even though I was really this close to actually getting that Nationals invite. But there's always next time with that. And just a couple of side notes about the event. This Kakashi mat here got a lot of compliments from people, which was really, really cool. Got a few comments for my Vegeta It's Over 9,000 shirt that I was wearing. There was a lot of sick playmats there too, like one where it was Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta and Goku staring at each other, and then it was also Naruto and Sasuke staring at each other too, which was a really cool playmat. There was another one where it had Team Formula 1 on the corner, along with a Formula Synchron with Dandelion driving it. That one looked really cool. And then I also did get to meet and talk to Nim Nim from YouTube. His name's Gage Polyak. Polyak, I don't know how that's pronounced. He's actually a really good player, sponsored by ARG. He's got over, I think, 12,000 subscribers on YouTube. And he went to the event. I think he also finished X3 and just missed out on that cut. But it was really cool to see him. He seemed like a pretty cool dude. So yeah, that was pretty cool for a small YouTuber like me to be able to see someone big at an event like this. So yeah, that's about it, guys. I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and do be looking forward to those deck profiles from Tyler and Robbie from their 10th and 13th place deck profiles from this regional. And I will catch you guys next time.